How we doing? First YouTube video. Yeah, I saw the title, but the room is a mess, so feel me? We're gonna clean the room up, and then I'm gonna get back to y'all. We're gonna do a little montage, basically. Okay. Now that that's done, we're gonna talk about the brand. Okay, look, but I'm gonna just say basic stuff like my name, how old I am. Okay, so I'm Isaac, you feel me? And this is part 1 of building my clothing brand business. This is my first YouTube video, so try not to go too hard on me, you feel me? I don't think this one is gonna get much likes. And I don't really got an audience like that, so I'm not gonna do no like goals. That's first and foremost. I'm not gonna do no like goals. I'm not gonna do none of that. But what I'm gonna talk about here is how old I am and my brand mission. So first, I'm 15 years old, and you know, I'm from Chicago, you know. From Chicago, drove down the comments, you feel me? Yeah, what made me want to start my brand, I would say, is seeing a lot of people like wear the same fits. That's what I would say. Made me kind of want to switch the fashion game up a little bit, you know, introduce the people to something a little more new, a little more fresh, you feel me? You know, with most of my designs, I try to take a minimalistic approach, kind of like ERD, Balenciaga, you know, stuff like that. Although I'm not really a designer brand yet, you know, I look up to a lot of brands like that. Rick Owens, you know, real minimalistic, but there's something special about their clothing, you know. A lot of brand owners follow the 3% rule, like Virgil, but I believe in it and I don't, you know. I feel 3% rule is used the wrong way, and I'm gonna show y'all some of my, you know, designs and things of that nature really soon. But for now, let's just talk about the brand mission and get more into that. Okay, so like I was saying, you know, my brand mission is to just pretty much, I want to revolutionize the fashion game, you know. I want to make sure that people are all different, kind of, you know. And that's why I have so many items kind of on my site, because it's like fashion wasn't meant for us all to look the same. You know, when I see people with Veil hoodies, well, Veil is a very good brand, but when I see people with Veil hoodies, Nike Tech pants, and Lavins, it makes me mad. Because it's like, you know, that's not fashion, you know. Especially if all of you all are doing it. And, you know, it just makes me feel some type of way. But as of recently, I've been very proud of myself for some of my accomplishments. And, you know, if anyone wants to give me like any advice, you know, just let me know. I'll have my site linked in the comments. I won't be posting on YouTube daily, but I will try to post, you know, for like a decent amount. You know, I'll try to post for like a decent amount of like, you know, times a month. I'm thinking I'm gonna post like 4 times a month maybe. But back on topic, you know, a lot of people wear the same things and some of it just doesn't look good to me. You know, I'll put a few of like my fits on the screen here, you know. Not all of them are good, but I like to say, you know, I have a certain individuality. I like to pick out a lot of pieces where, like, you know, people have it picked to like make things with, you know, like make fits with. And I honestly think it works out really well. Yeah, I think it works out really well. You know, like I don't know if I'm gonna like pull it up, but you can see I have LV skates on, some of my flicks, reflective lavins, you know, things that people are just now getting into. You know, I like to say I've always been into like fashion, but like I never really all the way expressed myself, you know, and that leads me into our next topic, expression. You know, expression is more than just, you know, saying this is what I do and I'm expressing myself. No, to express yourself is to fully be you and spread your wings and jump off that building. That's what I think expression is. You know, like me, a lot of people at school say, oh, your brand trash, oh, this is trash, you know, because I'm not making, you know, a typical, you know, rhinestone hoodie, or I'm not making something that everybody else has, you know, because my pieces have individuality, you know. And you know, if there's somebody younger than me, younger than 15, that wants to start a brand, what I will tell you is, you know, like, just don't listen to people. You know, this is a message to my future self. Don't quit, okay? Don't quit. I'm gonna put that in this video. Don't quit. But like a lot of people, you know, they say my brand's trash, or they say it needs work, you know, and I personally believe nothing that takes creativity is trash, you know, unless it wouldn't have been created, you know. See, me thinking, I personally think I do need work, you know. I do need work. My brand could be better, you know. That, like, you always have to have that mentality. From the research I've done, that something can be better. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm perfectly fine with that. If that's what's gonna get me to the top of the fashion game, I'm perfectly fine with that. I look up to a lot of creators like Quan, awful lot of cough syrup. I watch a lot of Superline videos, but you know, like, I could do all of that, but if I'm not right with God and my commitment isn't there, then it's not gonna be a point of me doing it, you know. And I have a lot of support in my corner, which is another thing we could talk about, is support. Support is very important, because you never know, like, you never know, you know. You never know. You never know what you're gonna go through, and you never know whose help you're gonna need to go through it. So that, I think support's very important. You know, and something I kind of want to do is like upgrade kind of what I got going on, you know. Like, I kind of want to build like some form of a legacy, you know. Like, I don't want to just be looked at as just another brand, you know. Like, if you go on the site, you'll see, you know, I have a lot of but you can see, like, I have a lot of different pieces, you know, a lot of different things that I've made. And the manufacturer I use is actually, you know, it's Tap Stitch. Yeah, you know, they're very good for brands like me who want to slowly build and stack on money while remaining creative, you know. That's one thing I will say. They want us to be creative, you know. The world is a creative place, you know. Like, even the phone I'm recording on right now, like, someone created that. Someone had an idea, like, just like I had an idea on this hoodie, the skull hoodie, you know. You know, everything is creative if you really think about it. And one of the last things I want to address in this video is haters, you know, people that's gonna hate on you. Like me, I got a lot of supporters, but for every supporter I feel like there's 2 haters to 3 haters, because of how people know me and how people see me, like the type of person they see me as. Like, I'm a very playful person, you know, person that cracks a lot of jokes, person who has a decent amount of friends, you know, stuff like that. And you know, when people see you in that light, they're not gonna take you as serious is someone they don't know, you know. They're gonna be like, oh, that's trash, oh, this, oh, that. Well, they're just gonna hate on everything you do. And I'm here to tell you that those people don't have what you have, therefore don't let them say that to you. You know, and sometimes family is the problem. But what I will say is don't let that discourage you either. I've had like a lot of judgment from my family because I play football, but now I'm trying to start a clothing brand. So it's kind of like I'm not like the football athlete of the family anymore. I might still, you know, go to the gym time to time, but that doesn't change, you know, the fact that I'm not playing football anymore. You know, my family has been very supportive, but you know, when you have a family, you know, there's gonna be that one person or those two people that try to belittle you in the things you do. So one thing I will say is don't let family dictate what you do for yourself, and stay true to your goal. And the last thing I want to talk about is patience. You know, that's something I feel like I've been lacking in a lot. But what I've noticed, all clothing brand owners kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And the more their drive, the more patient they were waiting and waiting, the better, you know, the better it got, you know. And I also, we could put this in a sub, you know, I also believe in affordability. A lot of things on my site may seem expensive, but you know, I try to provide premium quality for not that big of a price, you know. Like, that's kind of the type of person I am as far as like clothes, because I know when I'm looking for clothes, I don't like seeing like clothes that's crazy OD, like $100 t-shirts, $200 t-shirts, $300 hoodies. Like, you know, I try to keep all my prices balanced, you know, for what you're getting. And I specifically add descriptions on everything. And I also start getting your stuff made immediately after it's ordered. You know, I try to give clients the best experience ever. And with me being so young and researching all of this, another thing you have to balance is school. You know, school is important. Even though, you know, grades don't reflect how smart you are, they do to certain people, and certain people look at that as a point. So what you have to do is take responsibility and, you know, get your grades right. I'm in the midst of making sure my grades are good since school ends very soon. I'll be posting a lot more during the summer, like, you know, day in the life, day-to-day stuff. But yeah, like, yep, a lot of that stuff matters. And as a conclusion to this video, what I will say is, you know, I would try to post a lot more. I'm gonna try to plug the video a lot. And yeah, so I'm gonna end with my 3 core brand values, okay? Difference, creativity, and simplicity, okay? Meaning that I want to stand out, and I want to have a brand where people understand my message. Next video, I will talk more about my message, but I'll just leave you all with this. Anti-MK stands for anti-mind control. Mind control being with a K. The world is brainwashing us slowly, and it's like we don't even know it, you know. So that's kind of the mission behind my brand. Like I said, I'll link my site in the description. I'll try to post again later this week, hopefully Friday. I'm recording this on a Tuesday after school, so yeah. Hey, peace, and you know, that's it. I appreciate you all.